Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, let's say thanks to our God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us mercies and blessings so we can gather together here without any trouble and obstacle. Secondly, may salawat and salam always be with our best prophet, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness to the brightness, from Jahiliyah era to the great era like right now. Thirdly, my special thanks I deliver to my lecturer, Mr. Kaharuddin SIPM, who has given me this assignment so I can take my video about the scope of discourse analysis. But first thing first, let me introduce myself. My name is Aulia Agusfina and I'm a student from PBIB 2019 at UIN Alauddin State of Islamic University. So in this occasional, I will explain about the scope of discourse analysis. Nowadays, the fact in human life is they are surrounded by messages which continuously pass from one person to another or other people. So, from that fact, there are two questions. Those are, what is the main purpose of expressing a message? And the second is, what do people do to convey their message? To answer the question, as we read on the material and also as we know that the message are expressed to communicate concepts, ideas, and information to others. And also, to the second question, the message are conveyed in written text and they write and spoken interactions or they speak. From that question and the answer, we can say that spoken interaction is the primary medium and written is the secondary one. Other that, the scope of discourse analysis is in the area of spoken and written discourse. Then, what is spoken discourse? About this, there are three ideas of it. The first is, a language is verbally used by using speech in communication. The second is, it constitutes a series of conventional system of sounds. And the last, as the third idea is, its actual representation is speaking. In simply, understanding speaking means to understand spoken discourse. And the next is about speaking. What is speaking? I think anyone has known about it. Speaking is skill to convey message orally, in which the skill is formed by knowledge of vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, coherency, fluency, and comprehensibility. According to Richard, 2008, there are three major functions of speaking. The first is speaking as interaction. The second is speaking as interaction. The second is speaking as transaction, and the third is speaking as performance. So about the speaking is as interaction. The speaking interaction functional such as the first is it primarily establishes social interaction. The second is it focuses on satisfying the participants' social needs. And the third is it contains more than one topic of talks. These interactional functions indicate the most frequent activity of taking the most conversation. About conversation or talking about conversation as the most frequent spoken discourse can take place in two different contexts. Those are, the first is in the classroom, which is also known as classroom conversation, and the second is in real social life or outside the classroom, which is also known as casual conversation. So, what the distinguish between them? The distinguish between classroom and casual conversation is, in casual conversation, people don't need to put their hands up if they want to speak. In classroom conversation, students are expected to do it if they want to say something. Then, the fact concerning classroom conversation. The first is, for Indonesian students, classroom is a primary place where they are frequently exposed and encouraged to speak in the foreign language either with their classmates or teachers. And the second is, for some language practitioners, classroom conversation is a special variety of language used by teachers and students in their interactions. Then, the special types The special style of classroom conversations are: the first is, teachers tend to simplify their speech. The second is, teachers and students' interactions are limited by time and space because both parties simply involved in communications in the classroom when the teachers are teaching the students. And the third is, teachers and students commonly use the foreign language to practice and to develop their communication skills in the foreign language in which teachers speaks more than the students or limited right to speak. And the fourth is, teachers and students communicate due to the teaching and learning interest, but not to naturally interact due to their social interests. Then, the reason for discourse analysis of classroom conversation. The first is to show its typical characteristic in terms of structures, functions, and so forth, which have made it different from casual conversation. And the second is to encourage the students to know and to use the characteristic when they are in the classroom settings and want to involve in conversation therein. And the third is to see what goes on in the classroom and to evaluate the end products of our teaching and that of our students. This about or according to McCarthy 1991. Then, according to Richard N. Smith 2002, the focus of discourse analysis for classroom conversations are: the first is sentence cohesion, the second is turn taking, and the third is the relationship between sentence, and the fourth is speech moves, and the fifth is speech acts. Discourse analysis for classroom conversations using speech as approach according to Sinclair and Coulthard 1973. Speech as approach refers to speech as theory, which claims that a classroom conversation is a speech situation which consists of one or more speech events with different functions such as commissive, declarative, directive, expressive, and representative. This according to Al-Garawi 2005. In this session, we use IRF patterns to analyze conversation between teachers and students. This pattern shows that classroom conversations of native speakers commonly occur by using the following sequence. The first is I stands for initiation or teachers initiates conversation, and R stands for response or students respond, and F stands for feedback or teachers follow up. For example, the conversation between teacher and student. Teachers, now then, I have got some things here too. Hands up. What's that? What is it? This is example of initiation from teacher. And the students say, so. This is a response. And then the teacher say again, it's a so. Yes, this is a so. And this is the example of feedback from teacher. In other words, teachers for example, give example about invitation and they ask, and students is example from response and they give answer, and the teacher also for example is example from feedback, they give comment. And the next is, in addition to studying the discourse of classroom conversations, a structured situation of language use, it also essential for ELT teachers to know how discourse works in casual situation in order to assist their students in approaching effective communication outside the pedagogical settings that is the real world of interaction in their social lives. Spoken discourse, which takes place among people outside the classroom in real world situation, is then called as casual conversation. Casual conversation is commonly used a lot around those we communicate with in our social interaction. It is generally viewed as a carefree and unstructured as well as an unlimited way of speaking. People's utterance in conversation not only consists of language forms, for example, sound structures, words, sentence, and meaning, but more than those. The utterance may perform many functions which are frequently difficult to understand if the listeners rarely listen to and use English in real context. The nature of casual conversation has theoretically been well explained by Richard 2008 23. He claims that the main skills involved in casual conversation can be illustrated that the participants know how to do the following functions. The first is opening and closing conversation. The second is choosing topics. The third is making small talk. And the fourth is joking. And the next is recounting personal incidents and experience. And the last is employing turn taking. So maybe that's all about my video and my explanation about the scope of discourse analysis. And I hope my video can be benefit for us, and I do apologize if I have many mistakes in my video. And the last I will say that don't be afraid to make so many mistakes, because mistakes are proof that you are trying. The last, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Aulia Agusfina. Back to you.